Hi everyone, Matt here. I got a question for you. What do you think of those new gizmos and gadgets that come out to help us with rehab? Do you think they're great and cool, or maybe some bit of drawbacks to them? Let's talk about it. All right, everyone. First and foremost, let me introduce myself. My name is Matt. I am Matt the PT, coming at you with another video, another topic of something in the physical therapy world. And this one, I wanted to talk about this more about, again, those gadgets and gizmos and services and all that stuff that come out to help us with rehab. And then talk about that allow us to provide better services, to get better outcomes. Patients are more compliant. They're able to do their stuff, that they're happy. That's what they want to do. I see it all the time. These companies, that's what their goal is. We want to create something that helps us make our job easier, that we get better outcomes. It's a win-win for everyone. But there's some issues and things that need to be addressed with them that I think companies don't really understand. And that's what leads to them not succeeding, that this thing not catching on, even though it's really cool and great. And this is probably going to be a different video than I've done before. It's geared at probably a tad bit more at those people developing those things, but share your opinions and thoughts and beliefs all down in the comments below, because we share this with them. Maybe they can get an idea. And again, come up with those better services and products and all that stuff to help us. So I'm going to set this out. I get hit up from people time to time saying, hey, we have this product I would like you to try out, or maybe this service I'd like you to try and maybe add it into your practice. Well, these are just some things that I like to hit with them to let them know, like, if this is going to be a yes, that this would probably catch on, or is like, maybe it probably won't. So the first thing I like to hit on is the price. That's the big thing. How much does this cost? How much does this thing cost? How much does this service cost? Because that's a big deal breaker for many people. Again, how much money do I need to put forth? Yes, I know the business bros or whomever, you're probably typing out that thing. You're spending money to make money, that you're investing in this thing. You're going to end up making the money. Yes, I get that. I completely understand. That's a part of it. If you're investing in something, I'm putting X number of dollars in. How much quickly can I get that money back? Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Don't worry. Calm. But I like to tell people, again, this is a big thing that people are going to be really aware of, because it can be very hard to justify at times spending a lot of that money right up front. So talking about like smaller clinics. So again, maybe if you're a private practice or maybe you're in a small group, you're probably not making a ton of profits, and I understand whatever that your profit is, but you're bringing in so much. Can you really justify spending out a large amount of money? That's the thing. To let people know, hey, this thing is cool and great and all that, but realize some places that could utilize this probably aren't going to fork out that money right off the bat. Now you may be saying, well, what about those big places? Those big hospitals, or those big practices out there, those big companies out there, they got the money. I'll be honest with them as well. It can be a challenge to get them on board. I was a part of a company. I'll share some stories with this. I was a part of a company that was in a merger. Much larger company paid cash for the company I was with, so they were flush with money. And they told us, don't spend any money. Don't start renovating your clinics. We get people that do that. They start buying all this new stuff. We're not doing that. But let us know what you probably need, and we can discuss it. Well, one thing that we needed in the clinic was a new bike. If you're in PT, especially outpatient orthopedics, how often are you using a bike? Probably on nearly everyone that comes in the door, you're using the bike. This thing had seen better days. It had been bent. We had some really heavy patients that had bent part of it. You couldn't really get the resistance changed on it. It was just, it was uncomfortable for people. They did not like it. Like, hey, can we get a new bike? Can we do that? Because we really need this, and we're going to use it on nearly everyone. I'm going to tell you, I was with that company for another year after still could not convince them to spend money on a bike that all the patients were going to use. They just didn't want to spend that money. Going along with that is like a subscription fee. I've had those companies that come up with a service thing. Hey, this thing is cool and great. Oh, it's going to be like a $300 a month maintenance or a $300 subscription. Be honest. That's another thing that you're thinking about. Now you've added another cost every month. So now there's a new expense that is coming out every single month. And if you're running a clinic, you're aware of your expenses. And even if something's like $100 a month and you're generating revenue of $100 per patient, you got to think, okay, somebody comes in, the first patient, first day of the month, that first visit went to pay for that thing. And it can be great if you're booming and doing really cool. You go, great, cool, yeah, this thing pays for it. But if you hit those lean months, $100 or however much could be, that could really set me back or whatnot. So, biggest thing I let people know, what's the cost? If you can make something that's very, very cost effective for places to utilize, to purchase, to utilize, it's probably going to take off much better. The next thing is the ease of use. I'm going to set the scene for you. Think about if you've ever been into an old clinic. One's been there for like 20 plus years, or maybe like a hospital outpatient center. I'll just use that. They usually have a closet or a corner that I always call it a graveyard. It's all these things that they have purchased or they've gotten over the years that just ends up over here in this closet, and it just doesn't get used anymore. And when you start digging into it, you realize this thing was super complicated to use. Like, yes, it did all these cool, great features, but it took a long time to set up. You had to put in all this information with it. You had to do all this stuff. And it was so complicated to use. It just wasn't simple. And the therapists there are just like, no, we're not going to use it. Because honestly, think about it. When your patients come in, we get paid from the insurance company, if you're going through the insurance, on the services provided. If a patient is sitting down, not doing anything, you're technically not you're not billing for that. That's not a part of the rehab. When you're in there, as long as you are doing things to reach your goals, that's what you can bill for. So if you have to sit there for 5 or 10 minutes to set up something, it's not, okay, I got to spend this time doing this. I'm not billing this. I'm not going to utilize it. I'll share another example with you. Again, good number of examples of these things. Again, a company I was with, some other therapists had developed this really cool platform that they would utilize with functional capacity evaluations. And it was a shelf. It was like a lifting unit, and it had force plates on it, so you can measure how much weight somebody's putting on each leg, which was really cool to see. Like, again, somebody like maybe had a knee surgery or something, and you could see like, are they bearing weight equally or are they not, which was really good. But you can measure velocity of them lifting a box from the floor to waist, or like maybe floor to chest, or waist to overhead, because it had these little beams that shot across. So as soon as you picked it up from the floor, it would start the timer, and then as soon as you set it on there, it would break that beam, and it would give you a velocity. So the point was to see, okay, if you're lifting it with this velocity, this shows that you're doing well, but as we start increasing it, or you're saying that it's hard, your velocity starts dropping. So then you can kind of find their max. Well, here's the issue with it. This thing was very rigidly set up, and to lift the box properly, you had to do a perfect squat, and one where you like drop your behind down, nearly your butt to the ground to pick it up. Well, the average person can't do that. They're going to bend forward. And the problem is, as soon as they bend forward, their head would go through that first beam and it would trigger it. So it's like, no, you have to do it. It was so complicated for a patient to understand what to do. It was too hard to use. Additionally, here's the other thing. The information that it gave us, when somebody did it correctly, it would give us on a tablet, okay, this is their velocity. However, it wouldn't save it. So it's not like we could punch in John Smith, right ACL reconstruction, 10 pounds, this velocity. No, we'd put in 10 pounds, we'd measure it, you'd have to write that down, clear it, do it again for 20 pounds, clear it. What are you going to do? So I have to sit here and keep resetting it, re-adding all this information into it. And it's too complicated to use. So I'm not going to use it because it's taking up too much time. It is too difficult and challenging for everything I'm doing to sit around and fart with this thing. So If something is too complicated to use, we're not going to use it. If you think these products are getting wild out there, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. Back to the video. This is a good one. That is the information provided useful? Now, I see this with some of these devices and things that measure like range of motion. These motion capture things, which are pretty cool. I'm going to say they're pretty cool. And I've seen them at the conferences, and, they have somebody's like, okay, raise your arm up and, do this. And then you look at the information and they're like, okay, well, you see on your left hand, you scored a 27 out of 38, but on your right, you scored a 38 out of 49. So that gives you that you're in the tan zone. What in the world does that even mean? Okay, I don't understand what that means. It's complicated. And is that going to be useful? And I will tell you, the things that we want to measure are objective measurements, typically that insurance companies want to see. They want to see range of motion changes, strength changes, speed changes, endurance. They want to see those things, improved that are pretty standard. If somebody created a scale, it's very hard. Like, we don't understand what this is. Now, I'll give you another example, like what I've done. With the MDT stuff I use, if you've taken an MDT course, we use range of motion of, nil, min, mod, major losses. And that's how I usually document. And I've had insurance companies send back like, no, we don't want that. We want actual numbers. So get the inclinometer out or the GONI and you measure it and they want those numbers. So the same thing. I've seen scoring systems as well, where they come up with something to say, oh, you scored on day one a 62. And the patient's like, is that bad? It's like, I really honestly don't know. And then flash forward, say 6 weeks that they're there. They're like, man, I feel great. And I'm doing all this stuff and no problem. And they take that thing again and they score a 74. And so they're like, well, why don't I get 100? I thought I was doing really, really good. It's like, well, you are, but I don't really know how this thing is scoring. It's using its own system. And really, do you want to put that in there to say, oh, this person improved from a 64 to a 74? What's the insurance company? Oh, is this out of 100? Is this out of 75? What is it out of? We don't know what that information is. So if it's going to come up with something that is information that is not really useful in us being able to bill or, to get reimbursed from insurance companies, especially that, we're not going to use it. Additionally, how useful is it across multiple things? If it's some device is like, oh, this does great with people coming back from a carpal tunnel repair. Okay, well, they had that done. How many of them are you getting in? If you're maybe a hand therapist, yeah, you're getting a lot of those. Oh, that's really cool. Maybe if you just have like a general, outpatient orthopedics and we're not getting a lot of hand patients, we're not going to spend the money on it. Compare that to like the bike I was talking about earlier. Yeah, everybody can use a bike. Hip, knee, ankle. Yeah, we're going to start you on the bike. Yeah, back pain, we can start you on the bike. Oh, we could even justify if you have like a rotator cuff repair. You know what? We could start on the bike to make sure that we work the cardiovascular system to keep their endurance up. You can use that. If something has a very, very limited use, it's probably not going to take off. So just to wrap this all up, if you're trying to replace something that has a very cheap, simple, easy to use, already main thing that we do, it's going to get hard to try to really replace that. I've seen this with some of those like electric GONIs where people are like, oh, you just put this on here and it does all these measurements and all that. When it's like, yeah, that could be used, but then you got to set it up and you may have to do all this stuff with it. When I can grab the GONI that I got for free, at CSM last year, lift your arm, whoosh, boom, cool, thank you. I got it just like that. And I'll use this example. I literally just saw this product. Somebody had sent me the link for it. It is something that helps you with like strengthening your shoulder. It's a device that goes around you. It locks the arm in and you do internal and external rotation with you. The thing is $250. It's $250. So it's got a high price to it. It's kind of challenging to use. So we have to stop. We got to put this thing on you. We got to do all of this. The information that we could get from it, okay, yeah, well, since we're working on, internal, external rotation, strength, that'd be cool. But like the functionality of it, you're only going to use it for a very limited number of patients. So I'm not probably going to use it a whole lot to justify spending $250. And additionally, we could take a rolled up towel and do the same thing. That's one reason why I like using a rolled up towel. Put it up under the elbow. It cues people to keep their arm in that position. There's a much cheaper and simpler option out there. I don't want to spend all this money on this thing and only use it for just a few shoulder patients. So there we go. That's all out there. So if you're someone out there developing these products, devices, services, whatnot, please take these things into consideration. Just, hey, consider these things before trying to push this out there, because again, I would love to have these things out there that make our job easier, that help us get better outcomes, that help patients be more satisfied, happier with the rehab, doing their stuff at home. Again, overall, that everyone ends up being happy. However, if these things are still going to be there, they're still going to be there, and they can derail so much of it. And I would put this forth out to everyone out there. If you're a therapist, whatever, put your beliefs, opinions, and all that down in the comments below. Let us know. Let us know what you think about all this. If you enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up button. And please consider subscribing to the channel. It doesn't cost you a copay. And until next time, take care of yourself. Take care of your patients. I'll see you then.